Welcome to this lesson on the if statement in PowerShell. Today, we're exploring conditional logic, which is a fundamental concept in programming. Conditional logic allows your scripts to make decisions and execute different code based on whether certain conditions are true or false. This is part of our PowerShell Control Flow series, where we learn how to control the execution path of our code. Let's start by understanding what conditional logic means. Conditional logic is the ability to make decisions in your code based on whether certain conditions are true or false. Think of it as asking a question and doing something different depending on the answer. The simplest way to remember this is the phrase, if this, then that. For example, if it's raining, then take an umbrella. If a number is greater than 10, then print a message. This decision-making capability is essential for creating dynamic and responsive scripts. Now let's look at the basic syntax of an if statement in PowerShell. The structure is straightforward. You start with the keyword if, followed by parentheses containing your condition. Then you have curly braces that contain the code you want to execute if the condition is true. Inside the curly braces, you write the code that should run when your condition evaluates to true. This is the foundation of conditional logic in PowerShell. Let's see a practical example. Here we have a variable called age set to 25. We use an if statement to check if the age is greater than 18. The -gt operator means greater than in PowerShell. If this condition is true, which it is because 25 is greater than 18, then the code inside the curly braces executes, and it writes, "You are an adult" to the host. This is a simple but powerful way to make decisions in your scripts. Sometimes you need to do something when a condition is false. That's where the else clause comes in. The if-else statement allows you to specify two paths, one for when the condition is true and another for when it's false. The syntax adds an else keyword after the first closing curly brace, followed by another set of curly braces containing the code to execute when the condition is false. This gives you complete control over both scenarios. Here's a real example of if-else in action. We have a variable called temperature set to 15. The if statement checks whether the temperature is greater than 20. Since 15 is not greater than 20, the condition is false. When the condition is false, the code skips the first block and jumps to the else block. So instead of printing "it's warm," it prints "it's cold." This demonstrates how if-else lets you handle both true and false conditions elegantly. What if you need to check multiple conditions? That's where ElseIf comes in. The ElseIf keyword lets you test additional conditions in sequence. In this example, we have a score variable set to 85. First, we check if the score is greater than or equal to 90 for a grade. If that's false, we check if it's greater than or equal to 80 for a B grade. Since 85 meets this condition, it prints grade B. If none of the conditions match, the final else block executes. You can chain multiple else if statements to handle many different scenarios. Let's recap what we've learned. First, if statements allow you to execute code based on whether conditions are true or false. Second, the else clause handles the false case, giving you control over both outcomes. Third, ElseIf allows you to test multiple conditions in sequence, enabling complex decision-making logic. These three concepts form the foundation of conditional logic in PowerShell. With if-else and ElseIf, you can create scripts that respond intelligently to different situations and make your code more dynamic and powerful.
If you like this video, hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Visit codelucky.com for more such useful content.